Hello, good evening, my LinkedIn family and YouTube family. Also, people who join in from my Facebook page. I hope you're doing well. Hamas Siddiqui again with you today, Thursday evening, 6:30 p.m. in Eastern Canada. And today, every alternate Thursday, we talk about reinventing our careers in this beautiful country with tremendous opportunities and interesting avenues for people to work and do business and live a nice life really. Uh, and in this session, Brent Edwards, who is a consultant for businesses, any newcomers who is interested in starting a small hustle or a big hustle, Brent is the person to connect with. I'm just bringing Brent onto stream. There you go. Hello, Brent.
Hey, Ahmad. How's it going today?
It's going well, with the sun out, early summer. My seedlings are doing well in small planters, so very happy. I hope you are also okay with all that lockdown and stay home order. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, no, we make the best of it. I mean, the flowers are starting to come out. It's a good time of year. Um, yeah, I mean, we're doing what we can to support all the public health authorities and trying to rein in COVID. I mean, if we're going to have a healthy economy starts with a healthy populace and
Absolutely,
our part, and people are starting more and more people are starting to get vaccinated, which is great news. So
yeah,
yeah, we just gotta hang in there. So no, things are
absolutely. Absolutely, and this is what I did a video on LinkedIn this afternoon, and this was it. You only worry about things that you can change. I mean, if you can't change something, then what is the point in getting worried about it?
exactly.
And add your kind of whatever you can to the whole process. And for us, staying home is the process, maybe to
Absolutely.
going forward.
Yep.
So great. Today is which sixth show or the seventh show? You are keeping a number. Seventh, right?
Number
Sixth.
there we
Number
go.
six.
Number six.
Number six. So Brent keeps this number. I always forget. So sixth show in a row. We started with what was I mean, we're thinking, okay, let's start do something for
Yes,
immigrants, new immigrants,
absolutely.
and see how it works out. And we are going pretty good. And since last four shows, we had a guest to come and talk to us and to everybody who is watching this session, these sessions, and all these recordings are available. So previous session recordings are available. If anybody needs those recordings, you can either DM me or Brent, and we'll be happy to share those links with you. And the idea for this session or sessions is to help new immigrants think from a very different perspective. When you move to a new country, there are certain challenges. I mean, initially it looks very different from outside. When you come here, things are very different. And in our previous shows, we have spoken about the different lingos that people use here. The culture. How do you start communicating with somebody you do not know? How do you build that network? And the feature that we have by bringing in a guest is really adding value to this whole or enriching this whole discussion.
Yeah, and it's also helping us understand better the challenges that they're going through, so we can help addressing them. So, like you said, learning the lingo that we have, the idioms that are used, because there's a lot of things that as established Canadian that I may be blind to and don't see because of you know uh, growing up in the culture.
Yeah,
But the more we can learn from some of our guests, the more that we can help other newcomers. So that's great. And an
that's
interesting thing with our guest coming on today, he's similar industry that I was in a previous life, financial services. He actually works for what used to be a competitor of the company I was with. I was with American Express for many years, and our guest is with U.S. Bank. So I have a few Former colleagues from Amex, I know, who work at U.S. Bank, and it's going to be interesting to see his perspective because there's so much technological change within the financial services industry. He's also worked in the States as well, so going to be interesting to hear
Yeah,
his points of view and
yeah.
his thoughts.
And he works in Pakistan also in South Asian region. So, and I would really like to hear from him how different it is working in the West as well as comparing it working in South Asia. So, everybody who is with us today on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook, you can introduce yourselves. Just share from where are you joining in, and we'll be happy to display your name live here with other people who are going to join in and will be with us. So without any further delay, I am just bringing Fahad, Mirza Fahd Baig. We call him Fahad. Hello, Fahad. Good evening.
Hey, Aman. Hey, Brent. How are you guys?
Great, Fahad. Great to meet you.
Likewise.
Great to meet you.
Thanks for having me over, and an absolute pleasure to be on your show.
Yeah. So no, thank you for spending time. This is what we call community service, right? 6:30 is usually dinner time in this part of the
Uh,
world. Not
yep.
for not for what we call quote unquote desis,
Yes.
South Asians though, but it's still families eat early and then they go to bed early.
It's a part
Um,
of the Canadian journey. My
yeah.
girls normally eat by this time. They start
Yes.
having their dinners.
Yes, absolutely. So today we have a few people joining in. At least there are few people who have joined in. I can see that, but there are a few people who are commenting. So I'm going to bring them one by one, just to show their names, so just to recognize them,
Sure.
because this is a great opportunity for anyone who is in this session with us, not only to listen to what Fahad has to share as his journey as an immigrant and how challenging was it in the beginning and how he kind of gelled himself into the working culture in the Canadian job market. And but also at the same time, it provides anyone who is joining in an opportunity to network with each other. So you can actually network with each other and build your network and learn from each other and maybe find more opportunities that way. So over to you, Brent, for first questions. While I'll show these great people who have joined us online.
Sure. Yeah. So, Fahad, I was saying in the opening that we've both worked in the financial services industry for quite a long time. I've been out of that industry for about 9 years, but um, maybe just tell us, give us a little bit of background on your journey, and know that you've spent some time going to school and also working in the U.S. So maybe tell us a bit about how you ended up in the U.S., some of the work that you've done in school, and how you ended up coming to Canada.
All right. Absolutely. So, starting off with my studies, I did my studies from California. I went to state when I was like 19, and then went there for my bachelor's. Did my software engineering from there. Did my master's from there. And then, just like everybody at that time, there was IT boom, and I was like, let's just go to Silicon Valley. And then California was the place to be.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't get to any Silicon Valley colleges. So Chico was pretty close by, and I was like, it's just 3 hours away from Silicon Valley, and then this could be something, cheaper to live by, and then but still
Yeah.
be close to Silicon Valley. So let's just do that. So I did my studies from there, and then my first job, luckily, was IBM Silicon Valley.
Wow.
So
So
kind of
you had a good brand name start right out of school.
so
So
kind of had the
you
dream that, okay, working for a big name in Silicon Valley, and then boom, IBM, there we are.
wow.
So started off as a contractor, worked there for about a year, and then transitioned myself to a consultant role, worked for many different organizations, public and non-public within US, worked for about good 6 7 years, and then moved back to Pakistan in 2010 and 11. Um,
Okay.
yes, and then worked for the companies over there, and then those were primarily synced up with either the US market or the UK market or the European market.
Hmm.
Majority of the projects, or the offices, they had the offshore offices in Pakistan. That's where we were
Okay.
developing and leading the efforts on those sides. So I mostly filled in the roles for bridging that gap, since knowing the North American market,
Uh,
knowing kind of have the idea on the European side as well. So I was
yes.
so from the engineering side of the roles that I was in the US, I gradually transitioned towards project coordinator, project manager, and then since everything is moving towards agile now, so gradually transitioned towards the agile side, and then hence, I did my Scrum Master certifications, and then in 2017, I moved to US.
Okay, so you
Um,
moved back.
I'm so not US, sorry, Canada. I moved to
Moved to
Canada.
Canada. Okay, yep.
Right. Moved to Canada. I couldn't get a break right in the beginning. I did a couple of months of odds job, but then in 2018, I joined US Bank as the agile project manager, and then it's been about almost 3 years now, and still working for them, handling a couple of projects, two different teams. My previous projects were Europe based, and then now both my projects are American market based. So pretty good exposure, pretty good market, I would say. Lots of potential for growth and learning is
Yes.
definitely there.
So have you found that? Because I remember when I worked at Amex, we again, this is going back probably a little bit before where you were involved.
Hmm.
We did a lot of work. We had an offshore IT team in Pune, in
Yeah,
India,
yeah,
and then we had a lot of developers in Phoenix.
right.
So I was in Markham, and we were always working with project teams who were in the subcontinent, but we
Hmm.
also had other teams, product teams, which side I was on, in
Right.
Arizona. It sounds like being able to kind of triangulate between the three parts of the world
Hmm.
has really paid off for you to have that experience to bring to bear.
Definitely. And then since everybody's turning into a global market now, I know our US teams, they would start off their day a bit early just to overlap with us. And then our teams back, let's say in Pakistan, they would start a
Yes,
bit late to overlap with them. And then just so that at least we can have overlap hours coordination at least for half of a day.
yes.
Depending on the locations, that's how things were done. And then they're still doing the same way, especially in the South Asia part of the world.
Well, I have a counterpart, a collaborator who's actually out of Salt Lake City, and what she does is she coaches teams in India to work with North American teams,
Hmm.
uh, and some of the different cultural differences. What has kind of stood out for you, having had a foot in, you know, both hemispheres, let's say?
So since I had the exposure to the North American market when I was working in US, so when I moved back to Pakistan, I had a pretty good knowledge on how things work, what the cultural things could be like. Like back home, there's a pretty open trend of sitting late nights, spending
Okay.
extra, giving in a lot extra. Like just your boss is sitting, you might be sitting. So those are the sort of things I was like, okay, you know what? If I'm there, does not mean you guys should be there, right? You
Yes.
guys can take off, go home.
Right.
If I'm having a call with some of my peers in US, we have to do something. You being my team don't have to be here. You are done with your time, go home. I mean, don't look at my face to go home. Things like these that are pretty much a good cultural change that I brought with me every time I've worked with any of the organizations.
Wow. So I'm
I
sure
can,
that.
I can, I
So go
can
ahead,
actually
Ahmad.
resonate to what Fahd is saying. I worked whole of my life in South Asia, in different countries, and predominantly in Pakistan because I was based there. And my policy, so first 17 years I was with British government, and the
Hmm.
timings were starting at 8 a.m. and finishing at 3 p.m. So literally, almost half a day as compared
Right,
to the American market. But
right,
3 p.m. means go home. Nobody
absolutely.
stays. 3 p.m. is security officer will come in and start locking the doors. So you
Yeah,
can't stay late.
unless there's a need, you need to be at
Yeah,
work.
absolutely.
Otherwise, just spend time with family, work life
Yeah,
balance. Everybody appreciates that. So I made sure that wherever I'm working, and then I made sure that my teams, they're mentally healthy.
yeah,
They need work life balance. They need to spend time with their families. They need to spend some time outside the office, not just 10 hours a day sitting in front of the computers.
yeah.
So that was a good cultural change that I tried to bring in every time. Sometimes even I had to fight with the management to get these changes rolled in, and they were pretty reluctant to do this. They were like, "No, this would kill our productivity. We are making people sit 10 hours." I had to fight at times for that.
So how did you I was going to say overcome the arguments, but it's almost you're bringing this work-life balance culture from North America
Hmm.
to Pakistan, and
Uh,
you're it's maybe you're the one that's not fitting in or fitting in with what the norms are. So how did you
I,
make
I
the case?
I got this word from a lot of times where I used to get interviewed on. So every time I used to have the interviews, I was like, if it's my team, if it's my project, I'll deliver, but I have my way of doing things. Trust in me, trust in my team, and I'll get the work done. So a lot of the times, there have been supporting managers, my mentors. They were like, okay, fine, we'll give you your team. You take things, you get the work done, however way you want it. So
Interesting.
at times I had to do that. Sometimes, facts and figures prove a lot of things. So you would show the number of tasks and works done throughout. I would just say, okay, give me 2 months. You would start seeing the changes. If the productivity is going low, hold me accountable. If everything is fine, let's just continue. Happy everyone.
Results speak
Yep, yep.
volumes.
Definitely. And then the management, they want to see the graphs and everything. They're like, okay, we planned this much, this was delivered, these figures achieved, revenue is there. Wow, you are good.
Well, especially in the field you're in, financial services, project management,
Definitely.
triple constraints. I mean, those are tough roles to have, and there's a lot of pressures on those the global delivery schedules.
Always.
It's
Always.
it's a tough place. I know it's being kind of one of the internal customers and the demands you're putting on the project team,
Hmm.
and of course, faster, better, cheaper,
Yep.
based on the client demand. So it can be tough.
And
So
if you are behind on something, a competitor might roll those things out first in the market, and they may have a bigger chunk of the market share that could have been yours.
exactly, and it's hard to get that back once you lose it.
Never. True.
So what have you found? So kind of your journey now to Canada. You're talking about coming here in 2017.
Hmm.
So one of the things that we'd like to point out for our viewers is, some of the cultural differences, maybe Canadian business culture, and some of them tend to be quite subtle, especially or nuanced compared to maybe the U.S. So have it jumped out at you, or has it been fairly seamless and haven't seen a lot of differences?
Since I had the exposure in the past, so it was pretty normal for me. I gelled in pretty easily, and that thing kind of helped as well. People say you had a early foot in the market just because you had U.S. degree, U.S. experience and exposure.
Mm-hmm. He came as 19-year-old, so it's
Right. I mean, it
yeah.
kind of it kind of helped. It kind of added, but I think at the end of the day, it's more how much you can absorb, how much you can accept, how much you can show your skills, and then let the others do 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 the judgment for you.
Mm. So it sounds like mindset's pretty important. Do you
Yep.
agree?
Willingness to the new opportunities. Just be optimistic. Different cultures, different dimensions, different regularity, especially when it comes to the U.S. and Canadian market. Accept those, accept the change, and then just what do you say, gel in.
Exactly. In terms of you've mentioned about agile. I remember, and when I was at Amex, we were back in the days where it was really waterfall was a lot of the project plans, and agile was just starting to come in when I moved on to another part of my career.
Hmm.
Um, how's COVID impacted the type of work that you're doing, and in terms of working from home and team management across borders? How's that impacted on you?
It has impacted to a certain extent, but productivity wise, we've been pretty much similar. All of our IT teams, they had the work from home access before. I myself was working about 2 to 3 times a day per week, working from home pre-pandemic, and now it's just 100%. So our teams were doing these things off and on, but the productivity never went down. The only challenge now, I would say, is for the meetings. We used to prefer face-to-face, one-on-one meetings with the team. I used to travel America every 2.5 months, every quarter to meet my teams, to see the
Mm,
the health of the project, planning up the work for the next increments. That isn't happening anymore. It's all virtual. So that's the part that's sort of a challenge for us now for past, I'd say, 1 year or so. Apart from that, everything is online. We were working online. And for American folks and American team members, I'm in Canada. So if I sit in my office or if I sit in my home, I'm remote for them.
Yes.
It's just once in 2 or 3 months when I used to go there and then meet them face to face, spend time with them, happy hours,
Yes.
and all those sort of activities. That's the thing that I still miss.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So I would think that people who are used to doing remote work with, from the other side of the world,
Mm-hmm.
that the fact that their customers are now having to be remote all the time as well. I wonder if that's kind
Yeah.
of leveled the playing field, to use a local idiom, in terms of things are kind of, it's like we're both now having to deal with doing calls via Zoom. It's all via phone. There isn't that benefit of face to face, and
Sure.
we're kind of in the same boat. Are you
Yeah.
finding that at all?
Absolutely. And then there are challenges as well. Being a part of the financial industry, um, the things that I used to access from my office network, I cannot, or at least I have certain limitations for those when I remote in from my work.
Oh, okay.
Likewise, some of our team members, they had some reservations while, let's say, processing any transactions, doing any data changes. They do have challenges in terms of that.
Yeah, I guess that, because there's
So,
all the security and firewalls, and that has to be taken into account.
Yeah, especially cross-border thing. U.S., let's say, doesn't allow people from Canada or, let's say, Canadian transactions to go through, and all those sort of things. So there have been challenges. There have been incidents where they have blocked accesses or restricted accesses, firewalls. So those things have been in place now, and I'd say ID setup work has been um, multifolded.
Hmm.
The security part.
Absolutely.
so, so my question to you, Fahad, is that you came to Canada, you had, of course, American degree and qualifications, and you had experience working in North American market.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's very different, Canadian market is very different from the American market.
True.
And I was on a clubhouse room a couple of days ago, and they were all like Canadian resume writers,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote. And they were really talking about how Canadian job market works and everything. And I started asking questions because I know things are very different, and they could never pick it up. How can it be different? We're in the same area, we're called North America and stuff, but technically speaking, it's very different. The work culture is different.
Mm-hmm.
Challenges are different because America is just too big, and probably the size of the market is just too huge. Whereas Canada is relatively a smaller market. Well, not relatively, it is a smaller market, and jobs are concentrated in certain parts of Canada.
True.
Now, as an immigrant, because I know you volunteer a lot with TRIAC, which is a great organization that helps immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see people? I mean, let's talk about software industry because that's a lot of Indians, Pakistanis, well, South Asians mostly, are coming from that particular experience. What are some of the things that they really need to do either before coming in, so kind of preparatory work, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe when they land here and they have like first 3 4 months of that honeymoon period that they have? What are some of the things they should do? Well, let me put it as a joke. Instead of looking for the best mortgage rate, what are some of the things they should really be doing to help them grow in their careers?
Um, so I would just quote in my example. It was pre-pandemic times; things were pretty open. But even now, I would say build your network. Pick up a bridging program. Work with somebody that can mentor you, just like Triac. These are free services by the government that anybody can use. So utilize those services. There are people to help. Take it as fun, enjoy it, meet recruiters, meet new people, communicate people from different cultures. Don't be shy. Don't restrict yourself. Be open. You would get a lot of new opportunities when you meet people, when you see different people. It would give you immense learning and give you opportunities to grow once you see and meet different people, often.
Do you see
Yes.
many people? And we have a big startup community in Toronto. Do you see many people moving from larger organizations where they may have worked before they came to Canada and then trying out either self employment or trying out working for startups? Have you seen examples of that, or are most people still focused on trying to work for large organizations?
It's a mix and match. There has been examples when people have moved from the bigger name companies and organizations to a smaller one, and then I've known people that have moved from smaller organizations to the bigger one. Both the setups have their pros and cons. Bigger organization might have mature processes, but then again, it might take some time for you to get in there. Small organizations, you probably would not have proper processes, proper flow of information. You may have to wear multiple hats. I may have to, for example, be a project manager and then be a quality assurance guy as well. We are limited on resources. So there have been stories and scenarios. It's a mix of both.
Hmm.
You cannot say that this is good and this is not. I think both has their equal contribution to the market.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it's what tolerance you have for ambiguity and how much structure you're looking for and how
Hmm.
much support you need and how entrepreneurial. So obviously a lot of different differences to consider there.
True.
So just one, because we are getting some questions from our viewers about immigration to Canada. Just one liner here that as Canadian law, we cannot talk about immigration. Only a regulated immigration consultant can talk about immigration to Canada. So if you have that interest, please, we can't really help you. The objective of this session is to help new immigrants prepare for their smooth landing in Canada and work around their careers, be it working for an organization or starting their own businesses. So this is one thing that I really wanted to mention because there are few people who are asking about immigration questions.
Yeah,
In my
I certainly would not be able to
yeah,
help on that.
yeah, but
Yep.
well, none of us can because we are not qualified. We cannot break the law. Although whatever information we have, that's our own information. But even then, we cannot share that information.
Yep, not my
So
swim lane.
no, absolutely not.
Nope.
So, Fahad, again, going back to the point, if somebody who has uh, a master's degree and few years of experience working as a project manager, for instance, in technology field for software development. What do you recommend they should do when they come here? Do you recommend anything before coming here, or is there something they can do when they come here in terms of like maybe short courses or something that is more kind of provide them an opportunity to get into the market much quickly as compared to those who don't have that particular.
Um, I definitely say certifications and small courses kind of things do help. So while you're looking for a job, pick up something. Set yourself a small goal. Um, a certification may be pertinent to your field if you're a developer, if you are a QA, if you're a project manager. Like if I talk about my field, I had a small goal that, okay, I would do one or two Scrum related certifications while I'm looking for a job. So, daytime, I'm meeting recruiters, I'm meeting people, I'm doing networking, I'm looking for a job. And then in the evening, that's my personal time for my personal growth. I would just learn something new so that I can put something on my resume. It could be something online, it could be something a bridging course, it could be something in a proper official classroom kind of a setup where you go to different sort of colleges, take a class, but enhance your skills. Don't sit on it. It could be done from something from back home. It could be something that you can do here while you're looking for a job.
And what
Don't
about
restrict
volunteer?
yourself.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So first example and then a question. So a very dear contact of mine, he came in with interesting MBA degree from one of the top universities in Pakistan, who worked for a multinational company. back home in a senior position. He came here. He struggled initially, as we all do when we come, because we are trying to learn things,
Absolutely.
and whatever is available online is probably not very close to the reality when we land, and things are very different.
True.
And then what he did, he actually went back to college and he did his 1 year certification in data science. So with that, just one certification, before even he finished that certification, he was on a job. And the reason was that he had this like local, whatever you may call it, local experience, right? Going to a college, and he could build some network through college. Uh, and with his tons of experience that he brought in, like, and a combination of these two were really good for him to get him a job. And interestingly, he applied for OSAP grant, like here in Ontario, OSAP works.
Mm-hmm.
OSAP had paid for his almost 60% of his expenses for that year. So he was okay because he was not using his savings towards his development. It was a grant come loan,
Yeah.
and he was able to do it. So, what are some of those courses that you would recommend or suggest? Well, recommend probably is a more tougher word if compared to suggestion. What would
Mm-hmm.
you suggest to these newcomers as to what are some of the things that they can probably experiment with when they come here?
It would depend on what's your expertise or what field are you looking into. If it's data science, definitely there are data science things and courses available. If it's project management, you have PMI, you have ACPs, you have Scrum Master credentials, SMC, CMAS, and all those sort of Scrum related or Agile related. Safe is pretty new thing. So it depends. What are you trying to get yourself into? I mean, I'm pretty sure if you're a developer, you would want to do something in maybe Java, maybe something in .NET, maybe something in Python. So it depends. What are you bringing on the table? But yes, as I said earlier, there are tons of options available in terms of bridging programs, in terms of grants, in terms of support and help. Utilize those services. Maybe volunteer somewhere, take an internship, prove your worth, make yourself permanent. I've known few colleagues of mine who came as an immigrant, started working off, as internees, as co-ops, and then after 6 weeks or 8 weeks, they were offered a full-time position in the same organizations. So there have been scenarios where, they just want you to be a part of the ecosystem first before they can pick you.
Yeah.
It could be a course, it could be a class, it could be just a volunteer opportunity with an organization or a nonprofit kind of a setup.
Yeah, so I think sorry, sorry, Brent. I think the best thing is to gel in with the what you, I mean. You use an excellent word, ecosystem. Gel in with the ecosystem.
Yep.
Learn the norms of communicating with Canadians, because and I keep saying it in every program. I migrated 20 years ago, but I never lived in Canada for long.
Hmm.
I've been in Canada since mid of July 2019, and the experience has been phenomenal. The people are out there to help you. Literally, whoever you ask, but you have to ask, and your ask should be very calculated.
True.
And they would do, because it's a cosmopolitan, it's a country of immigrants, right? Everybody would. I mean, nobody would know that you are a new immigrant, right? They would consider you somebody who's been living here forever. So they
Absolutely.
don't know if you don't know how to deal with certain things. And just one funny example, and then over to you, Brent. I had to deposit a check through machine. I never did that in my whole life, right? Because, you hardly get checks here, right? Everything is direct deposit and stuff. So I went to the bank, never used it, and I asked this teller, I want to deposit this check right at the front counter, not right at the teller. And he was looking at me like, "Yeah, you can do it." So, but I never, I never used teller machine to deposit check. So then only he realized that I am probably, new. That's why I don't know. He came with me, helping. So you have to ask. You must not assume that they would know that you are a newcomer. And this is a message that I really want to
You can do
convey.
that from your app as well. You don't have to go to the bank anymore for the
Say
check deposit.
say I didn't know that. Over to you, Brent.
No problem. We're learning something new every day.
True.
I was going to say, you were talking about networking, and that's something that I do quite a bit, provide guidance on. But in terms of conferences, the tech industry is known for all kinds of events, like the Collision Conference is coming up in a few weeks.
Hmm.
Is there any particular online events that you've gone to since you arrived in Canada that you found really helpful to build out your network, your ecosystem, other people that you could connect with and help build your career here?
So there were a couple of events that I went to. One was through the Agile community of Toronto. They had a couple of conferences at that time. Everything was
Hmm.
open, good days.
Sure. Back in
Uh,
back in the old days,
Back
yes.
in the old days. So I went to a couple of those events. That was pretty good. And then you may have known there's an app called Meetup. If you just search for
Mhm.
Agile, you probably would see the events happening around you. So I got hooked up, onto one of those group, and they used to meet once a month in Toronto downtown for breakfast, and then just discuss the opportunities. Again, it's all about networking. There were people from
Yes.
different banking sectors, finances. Um, they would just talk about opportunities, what you have, what are your skill sets. These are my problems. How can you help me?
Yes.
All those sort of things. So that kind of helped me, in the beginning as well, maybe just to get myself into the circle of the people who are from my industry.
Yes.
And maybe at some point of time, maybe they can help me as well. And then I can help them too, if ever, there's a need.
Absolutely. And as being a mentor in a Triac at a great organization, is there
Hmm.
any, like, if you had like three tips that you would provide to a newcomer, um, again, somebody who might want to get into the IT industry, what three tips would you provide to
It'll be more than three.
them?
uh, I mean, again, build connections, be positive, continue to learn and grow, be flexible, change and adopt. Don't stop. Keep learning. Every day is a new learning day. Don't focus yourself somewhere that, okay, this is it. Keep grabbing knowledge. It's everywhere, and then you would definitely grow.
Wow, absolutely. That's great advice. Hamad, I think we're coming up to your time for your walk.
Yeah, so 7:15 is time, regardless of what kind of weather is outside. If it's terribly raining or snowing, then only I don't go out for my 5 kilometer walk.
Oh
Otherwise,
wow!
every day. So Brent knows that, and 7:15 is the time. We have 6 more minutes, and if there are any questions from whoever is watching us, we'll be happy to respond to those questions. Please keep those questions focused at what do I have to do when I come to Canada as an immigrant. Uh, we have today Fahad, who is a technology expert, and he has been working in this part of the world for many years. Works volunteers a lot. So this is one thing that South Asians lack. Generally speaking, we volunteer, but we are disorganized volunteers. So we would volunteer, but we would never like to express that we volunteer. And this is one thing that really uh, I love to see, that in this part of the world, when you volunteer, you actually tell people that you volunteer, because that motivates people who don't. Um, I spend a lot of my time in volunteering, so as Brent, so as Fahad, and this volunteering really help me as an immigrant build my network, uh, even during COVID time. So, like meeting Brent, meeting Fahad, meeting so many other people who I would have not met otherwise.
True.
I met them through my volunteering and working with communities or helping them. So
I'm curious,
uh,
how did you hear about Triac,
yeah,
Fahad?
that's a good question. Me, Fad, yeah, go ahead, Fad.
So when I came here, as I said, I was exploring different options. I took one of the bridging programs that was in Newmarket. So I went there, and then also on the side, I registered myself on Triac. They assigned me a mentor, and who was giving me the insight on how I can, let's say, put on my resume, how I can beef up my skill set to get my foot in the market. So it kind of helped me. Again, you learn from everywhere. Knowledge is everywhere. And then once I had the job, I decided, let's just contribute back, give it back to the community. And then I registered myself as a mentor myself that, okay, if there's anything that I can help new immigrants, like somebody helped me, I would be more than happy to do that.
It's amazing. Paying it forward. It's terrific.
Always, yes.
And this is the beauty of this. So volunteering is a question that I would always ask, and I always repeat. This is the beauty of this country. It's very different from our South Asian culture. So if we do not do things the way the Canadian way, then it will be very difficult. It will be very challenging for us to settle into a society because it's a very different society altogether. People like to help each other, one another. During COVID, if you remember, people would help people who were not well, right? They would leave food in front of their homes and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So that's a very different feel. Once you when you start helping people that way, the help will come.
And Ahmad,
uh,
I'm sure you would get this question a lot. How much do you get paid for this?
yeah,
Nothing. I just do
nothing.
it in my personal time. My work doesn't get impacted. My family doesn't get impacted. It's just, if I'm putting in half an hour or an hour per week, it's not a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And the pleasure that you get of this work is tremendous. So I was sorry, I
Absolutely.
was showing my friend Shahzad Gidwani. So Shahzad is a branding guru. I call him guru.
Hmm.
Um, he started volunteering with the Chartered Institute of Marketing Management Ontario, which is the only chartered organization for marketing management professionals in Ontario,
Okay.
as a chief marketing officer. And he knew that I was interested. I already had some volunteering, like I was working for an organization, but that project ended. And he introduced me to the executive director in this institute, and they brought me in as the chief sales guy for the whole group. And Shazad and myself are together working for rebranding and doing weird things in that institute. Um,
That's how you
Sh-
connect the
yeah,
dots. That's
absolutely.
how you grab the opportunities.
And Shazad's wife is a fantastic writer. She's a poet. She's just phenomenal. And she got her job at Humber College through Triac, and they are like highly experienced professionals. Lived in Kuwait and in the Europe. When they came here, they never ever thought that it is an harm in starting from much lower than where they were in the previous life. So this is how, and they're happy. They're happy. The key thing is that they did it and they're happy. So
Yeah.
thanks,
Yeah.
Shiraz, for joining in, and you always inspire me with your passion and posts. So yeah, Triac is a great organization, and volunteering is the way forward
True.
until you get your job. Even when you get your job, you can still volunteer like three of us and four of us.
Absolutely.
We do. It's just a matter of maybe 1 hour, a couple of hours a week. So, dot 7:15. Fahad, maybe one last message for newcomers to motivate them about the I mean, there will be challenges. There's no doubt about it. But there's one thing that actually you want to tell them to keep them motivated.
Stay strong, stay focused, don't lose hope. You will get it there. I've seen a lot of folks where they just give up very soon after 2 or 3 months. You would have your time. Stay focused, keep learning, keep growing.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Brent.
Fahad, thank you so much. It was great to meet you, and
Pleasure.
it's a very message, and it's a lot of it. I guess you shared with us is around mindset and attitude, and really appreciate you sharing your own personal journey with us.
Absolutely. And if there are any questions from anyone, I'll be happy to be reached out to. And if I can be of any help to the community, I'm always willing to.
Excellent.
Definitely, we have. I mean, usually these videos are watched by approximately 1,000 times in 24 hours. So we'll probably have more questions coming in. And
Sure.
if they ask me a question or Brent a question, we know who to refer that question to.
Anytime.
All right. Thank you very
Okay.
much, Fahad and Brent. Thanks for, I think it's a nice evening walk. So, you know,
That's great.
we must not miss that opportunity because it's going to rain tomorrow. Uh, so I'm going to put both of you backstage for a while. And again, Fahad, thanks a million for your time on such a short notice.
No
It's such a
problem.
pleasure to have you. Hey, Brent, I think a phenomenal discussion with
Yeah,
somebody
it was
who
really
has,
interesting to talk to
yeah,
him.
yeah. So I think it's a different dimension altogether. Who somebody who has worked here was really into things, and that really helped him grow to whatever level he has grown to, and I'm sure
Absolutely.
he's going to grow further. Um, so, last message for our viewers from you, Brent.
Well, I think I think it comes back to the attitude, mindset, and just being open to opportunities, open to networking, open to meeting people, new ways of doing things. I think that's the message that Fahad left with us tonight for us to think about.
Yeah, and stay positive in this whole journey because there will be challenges, and we all face challenges wherever we are. The challenges you can only overcome challenges by yourself, by your consistency and passion and determination. Networking is the key. Brent is an expert in business networking, and I help. Okay, that's my business too. People build a network through LinkedIn and provide them these services. So if you ever think of exploring those opportunities, you can always connect with Trent and myself, and we can definitely help you do things differently to make you more competitive in the marketplace.
Absolutely. So my company's Brent Canada Experiences. So if you're interested in following me on LinkedIn, and also my website is networkingfornewcomers.ca.
Great. Thank you very much, Brent. Wonderful evening. I'm just going to briefly put you at the backstage and then we can have a quick chat.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah. So thanks for joining in again so we will continue doing these sessions. We'll continue bringing in guest speakers to share their experiences. If you're a new immigrant, if you want to be on our show, please DM me or Brent, and we will be happy to schedule. It's every fortnight, and I use the word uh, fortnight. Brent laugh at it's every alternate Thursday. Next session is not going to be next Thursday. It's going to be following Thursday. Keep signing in and keep logging in to watch these sessions. These sessions are for you, and we are volunteering over 1 hour every alternate Thursday to help you learn how you can establish yourself and start an exciting life in Canada. With that, Hamas Sadiki signing off from Toronto. Uh, Stay fresh, stay blessed.